Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. This is episode 124, powered by 91N. I am your host, Avery Roche, along with co-host Gitano Gallo, as per usual. It hasn't been long since we spoke last. I believe we did one on Thursday, which was only
3 days.
3 days ago. So
Quick
we
turnaround,
have the assumption that we made there in our series predictions ended up going the other way. So it's actually Edmonton versus LA instead of Vegas, and Vegas is playing Dallas instead of Dallas playing Los Angeles. So that's the change. And then there's been 2 games since then. There is one currently on my screen right beside us here, which is the Tampa, Florida game. Yesterday we had the Canes beating the Islanders, which I think everybody expected, and Boston, on paper, shitting on Toronto, 5-1 with an empty netter. Yeah, that one. So first we'll talk about, I guess, Canes Islanders. So
yeah, we'll get that out of the way.
So yeah, like I kind of said, that's what I think most people expected to happen was the Canes. It's going to be a tight series, low scoring. The Islanders can play some lockdown defense, but the Canes offense is just going to be too much for the Islanders. You can see that. Also, fuck Patrick Waugh. So, I think the Canes are, like I said, I think the Canes have that in 5-6 at most, and that's how it looked yesterday.
One of the things we said was, if they get some goaltending, they'll be fine. And Freddie Anderson looked great last night, so yeah, I think if that kind of keeps rolling, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And moving on to the Boston-Toronto game last night in TD Garden, and that was very, very evident that it was not a Leafs home game. It was definitely a Bruins home game. So how'd it start? The Leafs came out flying. They jumped out in front 4-0 in shots with a couple of really, really good chances. And it seems to always happen to the Leafs where they start a period hot, and whenever they do, it always bites them in the ass. Somebody gets caught doing something stupid. This time it was Ryan Reeves trying to make a check, and he actually pinned the guy that he was checking up against, Joel Edmondson, which created a 2-on-1 for Boston. Some guy named John Beecher, who I've never heard of before in my life, scores a goal, and it is 1-0 about 3 minutes into the game. And that was heartbreaking because, like I said, the Leafs came out firing. The Leafs looked like the better team for the first 3 minutes until that play. And then guess what? Boston takes all the momentum. They start playing like Boston can, structured hockey, wearing you down. The Leafs looked a little nervous. They looked like they were moving a little too quickly on passes, making passes into skates, things like that. It was not what you want to see. You could have told me Mitch Marner didn't play last night, and it wouldn't have taken a lot of convincing, to be honest. William Nylander obviously didn't play. That's something that I think a lot of people were looking forward to, was seeing the matchup that he was going to get playing on a third line. That could be really beneficial for a guy like William Nylander. He can really expose some guys on Boston.
Do we have an update on him?
No, there won't be one. There will not be an update. Sheldon Keefe said it straight from the general manager. Treliving told him absolutely no updates on injuries. Nothing. Nobody knows a thing. That's basically it. You don't even tell it. Like, everybody finds out who's starting in net when the game starts, basically now in Toronto.
Speaking of that, who do you go to for game 2?
That's a tough one. Ilya Samsonov looked like shit yesterday. He did not. Maybe he didn't look like. Maybe you can't blame him for specific, but just you want to save, man. You want to save. They're getting saves. We outshot them last night heavily, and you could argue that they had more scoring chances than we did, but it wasn't really that poor of a game. But when you're out shooting your opponent to the level that the Leafs did last night, I think they had like 36 shots to Boston's 24, 25, something like that. You don't expect to lose 5-1 and take the empty netter away 4-1. You want your goalie to steal one. Steal a save every now and again, even when you're not supposed to make it. And he can't do that. But on the other hand, you have Woll, who hasn't been the same since coming back from injury. He was great before injury, but he has been nowhere near the same guy since coming back from injury. I don't know if you throw a kid like him into the fire like this right now, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of panic happening, and I don't know if that's who you want to put the panic on, if you want to put that on his back right now.
I feel like if you're playing at home, it'd be a little different, but like in Boston, I feel like that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, so it's a difficult decision, and to be honest with you, Marty Jones is in play too. Like I don't see him not being in play. Logically, I would say Joseph Woll starts on tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I say Joseph Woll starts. I really, really hope Nylander's back in the lineup. I really want to see what he can do exposing Boston's third line. Yeah, man. You know, the other thing that was frustrating about the game last night, and I kind of see it from two sides here. So finally, we have this team that has some sandpaper and some testicles that can actually go out there and do something about it, right? Like, you got an actual, you got a couple thugs, let's call it. And every time they do that, they get called for it. And it doesn't seem to go the other way, you know? Like, there were, again, identical plays that happened in last night's game. Just interference calls, identical. McCabe was one, and I forget who the Boston player was, but he clearly interfered with a guy, and the calls only go one way, and I don't know what the fuck that's about. Like, I'm not gonna start throwing accusations after one game that the refs are biased against the Leafs, although we all know that. But let's not go there right now. But there were some calls last night that were absolute horseshit, especially in the playoffs, horseshit. And on the other side of things, you could see that the Leafs were trying to show Boston that they were tougher than them, while Boston was trying to win the hockey game.
Yeah. That was kind of the point. That was the exact point I was going to bring up. Like, I think the Bruins are okay losing the physical battle if it means winning the war. Like that's
and I think that's something that these guys need to realize is there's still a hockey game to be played. This isn't WrestleMania. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, yes, the physical ante gets upped. We understand that come playoff time, but you still have to win the hockey game. And they tried. Like, you can't. Sometimes you got to give credit where credit is due. Jeremy Swayman had a great game last night. Their defense collapsed the middle of the ice impeccably. That's what Boston does. That's what makes them a good hockey team. That's why they finished ahead of the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. But when you have players like Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, hopefully William Nylander on Monday, you need to see those guys break through and do something about it. We should be a better offensive team than them. And that's not what happened last night. They beat us in the offensive battle as well as beating us in the net and beating us in the back end. And that can't happen. We need to be better offensively. We can't score our first goal. By the way, fourth line goal from David Kampf. We can't score our first goal after we're already down 4. That can't happen. You got to come out flying. You got to score a goal right away against this team, against Boston, right? And that's not what they did. And you could see, especially after that goal 3 minutes in, they just became deflated. They felt good about their game for 3 minutes, and then all of 3 minutes later, Boston scores, and it deflated them. And then they resort to trying to win the physical battle and not the hockey game, like we just said. So I don't know what needs to be done. I don't know what lineup changes will be made. I don't know if Nylander goes in, who comes out. But
I was just about to ask, like, what if you're in Sheldon Keefe's office right now, sitting at his desk, like, what are you thinking?
It's hard, man. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who I'm putting in net, and I'm probably going to go to the kid. I'm probably going to go to Joe Woll. But next is, do I take Reeves out? Do I take him out? Because that's sending a message that you're right. We've focused too much on the physical battle. We need to win the hockey game. But then you might lose the physical battle, and that's plagued us for years. So I don't. That's a thought that do you take Connor Dewar out? He's been mostly invisible since we picked him up, but he made the play that scored us our one goal last night. He made the pass to Kampf, right? So do you take him out? Do you take Nick Robertson out, who's looked great for the past 10 games? He's looked really, really good. But he's small. He's prone to getting lit up, obviously. He got lit up like 4 times yesterday. And I don't know. I have no idea. I'm really happy I don't have to make that decision. Let me put it to you that way. I would, if it was me making the decision, I'm probably going to take out Dewar and put Nylander into the fold that way. Probably move Robertson down into Dewar's position and then put Nylander in Robertson's position is probably what I would do.
I mean, I think that makes sense. And then just off the chance that Nylander's not ready, any changes you'd make, or
no, I don't think there's really any changes we can make, to be honest with you. So
happy with the 6 defensemen. Wouldn't swap any of them out.
No, Brody doesn't need to play. Timmins doesn't need to play. What I was very disappointed in last night, honestly, I was very disappointed to see Jake McCabe lose the physical battle, because that's his bread and butter, is winning those battles, and he seemed to get outworked, beat to every puck, and just a lot of guys were just stronger than him last night, and you hate to see that, because that's what makes him him. Liljegren, I thought, looked great last night. Riley, you want to see make better passes, but you're not taking him out. I don't see anything that I would change on the back end, just based on the fact that we don't have really that many options. Benoit's not coming out. He took a dumb penalty last night, but he's not coming out. Yeah, that's about all I got from last night's game. Regroup and show up tomorrow and play some fucking hockey. That's all you go. That's all we can do. That's all they can do. They gotta show up and punch them in the nose. But playing the game, show up and have 2 goals 5 minutes in. That's what the Leafs are capable of, and what the Leafs need to do if they're gonna win this series. Right? That's what makes them better. If they are going to be better than Boston, what's going to make them better than Boston is the fact that they have way better offensive players. Right?
Yeah.
If you want to talk, Marchand is not what he was. Marchand is not in his prime anymore. Pasternak, yes, Pasternak is in his prime.
Pasta and Matthews can go almost goal for goal. Almost.
Okay.
Pasta put up, what, 60 last year?
Okay, can we be, first of all, winger, winger.
I said almost goal for goal.
Pasternak is much closer to William Nylander than he is to Austin Matthews. Don't get it twisted. Do not get it twisted, buddy.
That's why I said almost goal for goal.
That is an outrageous comparison. Anyway, so let's talk about matchups though. Pasternak and Nylander, if Nylander's playing, they cancel each other out. What else do you have? Come on.
I genuinely don't know the rest of Boston's roster.
Jacob Frost?
He's
Morgan Geekie? I don't know. The first goal they scored last night was John Beecher. I think Patty Maroon had an assist on it. I don't even remember the guy who passed it to him. Their number 1 center's Pavel Zacha.
It actually is. I gotta pull up their depth chart. Give me 2 seconds here. I genuinely can't think of any players right now outside of the ones you've mentioned.
Jacob Lauko.
They got Charlie Coyle. That's not a great.
Yeah, Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha are their top 2 centermen, dude.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's not great. That is not good center depth. And the Leafs should easily be able to overpower that. But Boston's Boston, man. They're so structured. They play such a tight game. And they get goaltending.
That's the thing is they don't need, necessarily the superstar power to fucking win games because that system that they play, how they play is just so good. And the guys that they bring in to play it fit that system so well.
Yeah. But that's about all I have, man. Looking forward to tomorrow night, hoping that they can kind of make a push. It would be really, really shitty to come out of Boston down 0-2. Like, that would not be good. That would be curtains, honestly, probably, with this team. So,
especially because then, if you lose that one game at home, then you're fucking...
Then
you're going back to Boston. Yeah, that's not great.
No, you've got to come out of Boston up 1 or tied at 1 at this point, man. And I have faith. I think they can, especially with Nylander, man. I think Nylander's, if he plays, is going to have a hell of a playoff. But that's unbelievable too. Like, how the fuck does that happen? Like, he woke up in discomfort. Like, how he hasn't missed a game with injury since 2016, Gitano. And then all of a sudden, after game 82, where nothing happened, he's hurt.
I mean, it could be that he's been playing through stuff. So I'm not gonna.
No, it's been clearly stated from Sheldon Keefe that he was not playing through anything, or else he would not have been playing.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say, Nick Suzuki is skipping out of the World Championships because he's been playing through some stuff. So I was gonna say, like, it wouldn't shock me if Nylander was playing through some things. But
another thing, the World Championships and the Stanley Cup playoffs are two completely different things, my friend.
Entirely. No, but I was talking in terms of playing through the season. That's kind of what I was talking about, like playing through some niggles and things through the season. That's kind of the point that I was making.
Yeah, but if that was the case, then you shouldn't have played the entire season so that you could play now. Yeah. It seems why it's ridiculous. The whole thing is fucking ridiculous. But
I mean, the other kind of side of that coin, I remember Kevin Bieksa talking about this years ago on Hockey Night in Canada, was he was coming back from an injury, and the coach said to him, like, can you play like tonight, or can you play like a couple of shifts tonight? Because like if you can't play a full game, like we'll play someone who can play a full game, because we can't just have you out there for 6 shifts and then we're short a defenseman, right? So I think it might be a bit of that too with Nylander. It's like, okay, like if you can't go a full 60, like we'll just play someone who actually who can give us something full 60 instead of playing short for 2 or 3 periods of the game.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's just like what happened and when and like how. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, just the injury is weird. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So Florida just scored to make it 2-1 in this game. That's my prediction coming to life, is the Florida Panthers winning. Vasilevsky, man, that was the first one. Did you see the first one? That was a softie, man.
I did miss the first one. I was watching the FA Cup semifinals, but that was not a great goal to be given up. I mean, Carter Verhaeghe's no joke of a player, but you kind of want that one if you're Vasilevsky.
Oh wow, I don't think he had much of a chance on that one. It was a cross-crease pass. How do you want him to save that? He was up against his post. That's a defenseman problem. You got to clog that lane. Anyway, I think Florida wins this game. What?
I was gonna say, do you want to quickly go over those 2 matchups that flip-flopped in the West?
Yeah, there's
nothing, no deep analysis, just kind of quick thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think Edmonton's going to beat LA, and I think Dallas is going to beat Vegas.
Yep, same. To the surprise of nobody, Mark Stone is going to be available for game 1. I saw this tweet and I shared it with you last night, but I just want to talk about it. The NHL investigated the Montreal Canadiens when we placed Shea Weber on LTIR because they didn't think he was actually unable to play. And then there's been no investigation into Mark Stone going into LTIR 3 seasons in a row and miraculously being healthy for game 1 of the playoffs. No investigation. But Shea Weber, oh God forbid, he was wearing fucking he had like an arm brace, he had a wrist brace, he had a knee brace, playing through the Stanley Cup Finals, and the NHL was convinced there was something fishy there. But Mark Stone in Vegas, no issues.
Yeah. Well, we know how diligent the NHL is. All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoys a full day of hockey. I guess by the time you listen to this episode, you will have enjoyed most of it. There is a full slate of hockey. After this, we have Rangers Capitals. Who goes after that, Gitano?
I want to say it's the Winnipeg, Colorado game first.
Goes at 7:00, and then Nashville, Vancouver at 10. So buckle up, enjoy some puck. Best time of year, as we've talked about. There's no better sport. There's no better anything in sports than playoff hockey. That's a lot of people will agree with me. I think we collectively agree on that, Gitano.
Absolutely.
And yeah, enjoy. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Bitter Rivals, episode 124, powered by 91N. I am Avery, this is Gitano, and we are signing off.